Hello there guys, and welcome back to our car modeling tutorial, and today we are going to be working on the wheels. So in the last episode we did our bits and bobs episode where we added in all of the final little details to the body. So now, in my opinion, I think the body of the car here is more or less finished, and it's looking, in my opinion, pretty good. So I hope yours is looking pretty good too. If you've got any questions about the body and what we've done so far, be sure to put a comment down below, and I'll try my best to answer that for you. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be building the wheels, and in the next episode hopefully we'll probably be building the brakes and the brake discs and so on. And once we have done the wheels here, that will be the end of the tutorial here, so we are getting very close indeed. And what I will be doing after this is creating an interior tutorial, but I'm probably going to do that as a separate series, so hopefully there'll probably be just 2 episodes left here, potentially. So what I've got currently on my model here, and what you guys probably don't have just yet, is I've got some aftermarket wheels which I added to this, and I added them to this purely just to see what it would look like once we've got some actual wheels inside here. So what we're going to be doing is modeling the actual Lamborghini Huracan wheels. So in order to do this, I have created a tire. That tire is going to be linked in the description below, so that's going to get you started. You can go to the description, download the OBJ file and import that into Maya. And I'm also going to be working from a new reference image. Now, I found it quite hard to find decent images of the wheels for this car. The annoying thing is about the blueprint that we're working from for this file is that the blueprint has both of the 2 different kinds of wheels that the Lamborghini Huracan comes with, and they overlap each other, so it's quite hard to see. So if I close this down here, this is the file that we're going to be starting off with. Now, like I said, this OBJ file is going to be linked in the description, so make sure that you get that downloaded ready for the tutorial. Now, I'm going to have to import a new image here because I am going to be using an image for the specific wheel that we're going to make. So the Lamborghini Huracan comes with a few different wheels. I've just chose my favorite. Hopefully you guys are happy enough with the decision, but I also based this on how easy it would be to actually model the 2 different types of wheels. So I thought I'd go for the slightly more tricky one. The one that has more of a tricky shape, but one that will actually be fairly easy to model. So if we go to view here, I'm going to import the image plane. Okay, so what we're working with here then is we are working with the main image of the wheel here. Now, it's not 100% straight, so we're going to make the best we can of that. We're going to need to model the brakes, so I've added those to this image plane here. I've added a reference image to show what it's going to look like in the actual brake caliper and the ventilator disc that you can see going down here. I've added an image of the car side on, so we can kind of get an idea of the depth and the difference of the depth between the front wheel and the rear wheel there, because generally supercars have a fatter, wider rear wheel in order to maintain the traction. And then at the bottom here I've got an image of the car side on with the wheel side on again, just to get a better idea. So I've got, rather than having separate reference images, I've actually got the reference images inside the file here. Now, what I'm just going to do is, firstly, I am going to scale up my tire here so it roughly matches what we need to be working with. So that should be okay. What we could potentially do is we could scale up this tire just to make it fit a little bit better, just to match the actual profile there, but I think that should be fine enough as it is. So the dimensions of this tire is pretty good, so the width is what we're going to be working with here. Now, there's so many different ways in which we can model an alloy wheel. We can do it using curves. We can bring curves around here and then loft between the curves. We can do it by creating the exterior section here and then adding the elements in the middle by extruding down. We can also create the actual main body of the tire, the wheel, and the front actual design section as 2 separate elements and bring them together. Now, that's what we're going to be doing. And the reason we are able to do that is we can see that this wheel kind of has a little bit of a separation rather than following straight down, which means that we can make the circular section, the main body of the wheel as one, and then the front actual design as another element, and just put them together. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to start by modeling our badge, and we're going to be extruding up, and we're going to be making this top section first, and then we're going to duplicate that around for the different sections inside there. So in order to start this off, we are going to use a cylinder. Now I'm going to hide my image planes here, and we'll still be able to see those nicely in my front view there. So now I did a little bit of maths before this, so hopefully we'll get this right. Maths is not my strong suit. What we're going to want to do with this cylinder here is we are going to want to crank the subdivision axis here up to 25, and we are then going to want to rotate the wheel forward towards us. Now I've done a little bit of maths, but I haven't modeled this wheel before, so again we're going to be making it up a little bit as we go along, but that will give you an idea of the actual 3D modeling process as we do that. We're going to take it in a little bit. We're not really going to be using the sides too much once we have started extruding. So we're going to do this in a few different stages. Now what we're going to need to do first before anything else is we're going to want to create the first half of this element here. Now all of these are exactly the same, so we don't want to make 5 different sections. It's a bit too complex to extrude out on these areas here and work on one piece whilst extruding the rest. It's a bit too complex for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on the first half of this side, then we're going to duplicate it to make this whole top section, and then we're going to duplicate special, which is going to auto rotate everything around, join them together, and smooth it out. So that's the plan. So hopefully it will go to plan. In order to do that, first we're going to select all the faces here, and we're going to delete all of these bottom ones. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to keep it so that we have 5 faces left. So we'll get rid of these ones here. Get rid of these ones here. Yep, that looks fine. So we've got 5 at the top. So if you guys delete exactly the same as I have here, so we have 3 which is kind of over in this half, and then we have 2 which is over in this half. What we're going to need to do now is we are going to need to rotate this slightly. Now notice that our pivot is exactly in the center here because our model was exactly in the center of the grid. We've just pulled it out just a little bit there, which isn't an issue just now. What we're going to want to do with this is we're going to want to rotate it, but we're going to want to keep our pivot exactly where it is for now. And I believe it's something like 3.5 that we need to rotate this. So if we bring this over here, you can see we've got negative 3.5. Now hopefully if you guys had the extra faces over to the left, it would be negative 3.5. I assume if you had 3 over to the right here, it would be positive 3.5. So either way, we have 3.5 there. So this is what we're going to really be building our information off. What we're going to do now is we're going to set up our duplicate, and the reason we'll set this up now is so that we can just quickly select it as and when we need it going forward. So we're going to, with our centerpiece here selected, we're going to go to edit, and we are going to duplicate special. I'm going to click on the little box here to open up our dialog. And what we're going to want to do for now is we are going to want to select instance. And the reason we want to do that is because we want to just get our sizing correct first. And in creating the correct sizes, then we can duplicate them at a later time. And we also want to now rotate these. So we want to rotate these on the y-axis, I believe, which is over here. And we want to do this at 72 because 360 divided by the 5 spokes that we have will leave us with 72. And the numbers of copies here we want to have is 4. So hopefully here we're going to have now a nice circle going around this section. So if we apply that, we can see that that's duplicated all the way around. And we don't really have too much of a gap in between, so it looks like the maths there was pretty spot on. So we've got instance selected here. You can do copy if you want, but we're doing instance here just to make sure we get our sizings correct. we're rotating around 72 degrees for each of the 4 copies that we've created there. And if we hit apply, that means that we can easily just hit the box there straight away, and that's going to repeat that duplicate for us. So if we jump inside here, what we're going to want to do is we are going to want to firstly turn our X-ray on. Now we've still got a pivot down here, so that's fine. So that means that we can scale in some of these elements here. It looks like my elements aren't duplicating properly, so let's just, I think I must have left the copy selected. So instance, copy, blah blah blah, duplicate special. Okay, no, that looks fine. Cool. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure around the center cap here. So we can see right off the bat we're not 100% aligned with these blueprints here. What we could do is select the actual blueprint and we can adjust it slightly. So if you select the actual blueprint image, we can use the move tool here just to move that up and down so we can get that exactly in the center there. So it's looking pretty good. Maybe we'll go down just a little bit more here. So we want to get this bang on that edge there. Again, duplicate the special now. So what we're going to want to do here is we are going to want to form the kind of outer ring section here. And the reason we've duplicated as an instance is because we're going to want to select all of the top faces. We can hold Control to deselect all the lower faces here. So now we're with all the faces at the top selected and nothing else, what we're going to want to do is we are going to want to hit Control E, which is going to allow us to extrude these up. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pull on the blue arrow here, and we're going to want to extrude up to our next section. So on the wheel, the way that this works is it starts with a little bit of an inset. So we can see down here, it's a little bit blurry, but we can see that down here we come out a little bit and then we go back in slightly. So on our wheel here, we are going to come, I'm going to extrude up to this kind of bobble section. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're keeping as close to our instances as possible, so we can pull on the scale section here in order to pull that up. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to extrude all the way up until we get to this extra outer ring section here. And we are going to pull on the scale here just to get it roughly in position there. That'll be fine, we don't need to do too much else with that there, so that's looking okay. And what we're going to want to do here is we're going to want to push out just a little bit, because we want to get some nice depth to these wheels. They're not flat, so we want to make sure that we're pushing in and out as we're going through. So we're going to push out a little bit here. We can add an edge loop a little later around here, and we can pull that out a little bit more, but we'll just get a little bit more geometry inside here. So what we'll want to do is make sure that we're up nice and close here, and we are now going to want to pull a few points here and there. So firstly, what we are now going to do is delete our faces along the top. Just make sure we've got all those, and we're going to delete these rear faces as well. So we're just working with our frontal section. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to just work on one side. We don't need to have this other side here just now. So we are going to grab our multi-cut tool here, and we're just going to throw a dot anywhere on the top of this section. We are then going to select our vertices, hold X, and we're going to snap that into the center of the grid. We are then going to draw a line from that vertices all the way down into the center. So we have a nice center line for this now. That is going to then allow us to, with our face option, delete all of the faces on this side. So now what we've got is the edge which is going to work up towards here. So that's exactly what we want. So what we're going to do is we are going to use our mesh tools first, and we are going to insert an edge loop, and we're going to drop it just here. That will allow us in our perspective view to jump in, and we're just going to pull that out just a little bit there. So again, just to add that depth. I think what we'll do with this area is we'll pull this out a little bit more. So what we're going to want to do now is pull this point over here, and then we are going to want to drop these points back down here. So what we'll do is we'll grab this point, we're going to hit V to snap to this area here, and we're going to pull up. I'm going to do the same, snap to that section, and we are going to pull up. So now we've got kind of the shape of the lower section here. Now with these 2 points, what we're actually going to do is we're going to pull these back a bit, maybe to about here. Because what's happening here is this is kind of going back and out towards that rear section, maybe not quite that much. And then this section going up is going to be coming away from this, so it's going to be pushing outwards. So what we're going to want to do is we are going to want to insert an edge loop in here. Now we are going to want to, maybe actually it might be better if we pull this point up and around here, because we can kind of see that we have a little indentation there. So what we'll actually do is we'll pull this point up and around there. So maybe there, that looks okay. And again, we'll just make sure that's sitting nicely, and we want to make sure that we're following the kind of correct angle here. So we're just going to make sure that that's not protruding too far. So this line here is following roughly this line there with no bubbles inside. So that there looks pretty good. What that will do is that will allow us to grab the edge here. Hit Control E, and we're going to extrude this all the way up to the top here. So this is allowing us to start to create the actual side section here. Now this on the front wheel is quite severe, and on the rear wheel it's very severe. So we want to kind of put this together in such a way that we can quickly edit the rear wheel without having to do too much work. So again, we can just double check that, make sure that's sitting okay. And with these 2 sections selected here in a perspective view, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to bring this out, and I think we want to bring it out quite significantly. Something like that looks okay. Yeah, it's not looking too bad. Now we'll bring some shape into this afterwards and just make sure that everything else is working okay so far. We're going to drop a loop in which is exactly on top of this crease, and this is going to allow us to grab this edge here. We can extrude in, and we can take this into the middle. So once we've done that, we'll grab our vertices here, we'll hold X, and we'll snap these across here and just pull it down just to get that little bit of curvature there. Okay, that's looking pretty good. We want to make sure that's fairly flat, but I'm going to bring it out just a little bit so it's completely flat. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So what we're going to want to do with this is we're going to want to create the actual area for the nut in the center there. In order to do that, what we'll want to do first is take this edge down. So if we grab this edge here and hit Control E, again we're going to extrude this, and we're going to bring this down roughly to where the lug nut kind of insets a little bit. Then we'll grab these vertices and we'll bring it around just here. Now this line is eventually going to move over there, so we'll just bring that down here for now. What we'll want to do is we're going to want to firstly inset this. So it's going to look something like that, and we'll maybe have it so that everything else going down here is going down fairly straight. So firstly what we'll do is we will add a loop inside here, and this loop is going to match the area that we just created, and this will allow us here to maintain the shape of this curve a little bit better. Again, we'll add a few more of these in shortly, so we will bring that down there. Okay, I don't think we want too much of a curve, so we'll just take that in a little bit. And what we'll want to do here is we are going to want to grab this edge, and we'll extrude this out. And we'll merge these 2 points, edit mesh and merge. We'll merge these 2 points. So I'm holding down V here to snap to the polygons, and we can edit mesh and merge them together. So what we're going to want to do here is we are going to want to bring in another cylinder. So we're going to bring a cylinder which is going to make up this section, just to make sure we get a nice circle inside here. What we'll probably do is we'll change the subdivisions from 20 to 6, and we'll rotate this around 90 degrees there. And what we want to do with this is we're going to want to bring it in position. We're going to make sure that it's snapped nicely in the center here, which it was before I took it away. We're going to bring this nicely here. We're going to scale this down, and we're going to scale this down to roughly the size of the inset there. So that looks okay. Maybe we'll want, instead of having 6, so let me change this here, maybe we'll want 8. Yeah, 8 should work nicely. We'll delete all the faces on this side here, and what we want to do is we are going to want to create the geometry here which is going to roughly reflect what we have. So we have this vertices which can go here, this one can go here. We'll create one across here for this one can go up here, and this one up here. Maybe we'll add another in for this section. So if we bring that back a little bit, so what we'll do is we'll add a line in here using our multi-cut tool or the edge loop tool, and we'll just add a little bit more to the curvature there. Pull that one in just a little bit. Okay. What we'll do as well whilst we're here is we'll add another similar distance up here, and we will draw the rest of that in across here, and that will allow us to get a little bit more of the curve that we want there. That's good. So what we'll want to do here then is we are going to want to bring our edges down to this section. But what we'll actually want to do is we'll want to kind of roll this section just a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll grab each of these points here. We're going to hit Control E. We're just going to pull them out a little bit. So we're going to roll these sections around. So I think what we'll do is we'll join this one here. So we're going to edit mesh and merge. This one we're going to keep fairly close, just there like that. This one will bring in a little bit of distance, maybe up to something like this, and here we'll do the same. Now the reason we want to do this is because we don't want this curve here to be too close to this one, because what will happen is if we smooth this off and we've added the extra geometry such as a line along here and a line along there, what's going to happen is this section might nip, and it may be a case of we have a circular cap in the middle, but on each of these we're going to have a little nipped section which may make it look a bit weird. So I'm going to roll those over just a little bit there. So maybe that will allow us here just to reposition these just ever so slightly. And now what we'll do with these is we are going to hit the extrude again. Just going to pull in on any of these angles, it doesn't really matter, because what we're going to do is we are going to now merge these vertices here to that of our ring just there. Before we do, we just want to make sure that the position of this is in the correct place. And what I kind of want to do with this is I kind of want to have it maybe start just a little bit in from them, so it's not directly. So I think that'll look pretty good just there. So now we can grab these vertices here and we'll merge them to our section here by holding V. looking good. On our tube that we created here, we are going to delete all of the faces apart from the frontal ones. And before we do anything, we can select both of these elements. We can hit mesh and combine. And what we'll do is we will make sure that we merge all the vertices around here. Mesh, merge. And you'll notice now that our other elements have disappeared that we created earlier. And the reason that they've disappeared is because we've merged these two sections together. So it's not going to like that. And what we'll need to do just here is pull this back a little bit there. And then we'll maybe pull this back as well, just a little bit. We can bring this in just to kind of reflect what we already have. That's looking good. Now what we'll do before we do anything else real quick is we're just going to grab all of these edges here. We're going to hit Control E and we're going to push those in. And again, we'll just delete these quick faces here. Okay, so far that's looking pretty good. So if we grab this real quick and just hit Duplicate Special, so it looks like... Okay, so what's happened here is our pivot is moved, which is not a problem. In order to get our pivot back to the lower section here is we can hold D, and you can see now we can see the cursor's changed. And as well as holding D, what we can do is we can hold X, which is going to allow us now to snap this to the grid. So we can snap the pivot here. Actually, oops. We can snap the pivot here to the grid, and we are going to snap it to the exact section that our point there is sitting on. And now if we duplicate special, it will now go nicely around that vertices there. Now this isn't too important just yet because we still haven't created the second section next to it. So what we're going to do now is we are going to move up and around our circular face here. So we're going to grab the edges and we are going to hit Control E and we're going to pull those up to match what we have just there. Now it looks to me like I need to bring my points up here just a little bit more, like so. And we'll maybe pull these down just a little bit. Okay, so that looks pretty good there. I quite like the amount of depth that we have there. I think that's looking pretty good just now. And what we're going to do is we are going to just here. We are now going to extrude this edge and we're going to go all the way up around here to kind of reflect the shape. So I'll fast forward that a little bit and then we'll work on making the actual depth to this. Okay guys, so I've extruded all the way around and made sure that that's matched. Now just a thing to note when you do that is just to make sure that you're continuously extruding on the world option, because I think this section here is fairly flat as it goes around on the actual car. And if you're not doing it on the world option, maybe that is bobbling a little bit in and out. So we want to make sure that you're on the world option as we go around. And then once I did that, I finalized the positions of everything going around with our vertices here. Now what we're going to do before we carry on real quick is we are going to adjust the diameter of this tire just so it fits a little bit better, because we can see now that we are actually getting up and over the tire. So in order to do that, What we'll need to do is, with our edges selected, we're going to want to double click on all of the edges inside here, and we're going to want to do this on the front and the back. So we'll grab all of these, and we'll grab these top few as well, and then we're going to want to make sure that we're doing it on this side too. Okay, and with those selected inside here, if we go to our front view and scale this up like so, there we go, that'll be fine. Just make sure that hasn't deformed too much. So it has deformed a little bit, so maybe we'll scale in as well. There we go. That looks, yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Make sure it's on the absolute top there. Cool, so nice super small tile walls there, that's good. Okay, so we've got the kind of rough outline here for that section, which is fine. What we're going to do now is we're going to create the depth. So if you grab all of these interior edges along here, let's get nice and close so you can see. And we're going to hit Ctrl E, and we're going to go into the world option real quick. And firstly, what we're going to do is we're going to pull those in, and then we are going to pull them down on the scale, not on the arrow, on the scale there. And then we'll maybe pull them in slightly on the side. And in our front view here, we're going to make sure that these are exactly where we want them to be real quick. Again, making sure that we snap the main interior vertices here to the actual center. And it's going to be a case of just pulling these around now so that they're where they need to be. Okay, so I think we've got a good depth there. It's looking pretty good. It looks like we've got decent shape to those as well, which is pretty good. Now what we'll do is we will pull them around on the outside. So what we'll do first, I think, is we will grab all of these exterior edges first. Oops. And we're going to hit Ctrl E. Again, we're going to use our world option. We're going to pull these in, and we're just going to pull them out a little bit there so we can see them easier. And I think that looks like a pretty good depth for these here. So again, we'll make sure that this furthest out edge is snapped exactly into the middle here, and looks fairly decent so far. And we're just going to want to follow the outside of this extrusion here. Looks pretty good. Looks good. Okay, we just want to make sure. I think I've ended up going across the shadow of the brake disc there. There we go, looks pretty good just there. And then we will do the exact same here for each of these edges. Maybe we'll do that one separately. So this one here. And again, we're going to hit Ctrl E. I'm just going to pull this out for now, and then we can all the points in. We know that we want this one here to merge, holding V over here. Merge those there. And if you bring these fairly close to each other, we'll be able to get around this curve quite nicely there, which is good. And then finally what we'll want to do is we'll just want to bring this out just here. We can merge those and then try to get as close to that line, straight line as possible, but again once we duplicate that it should work a little bit better, that'll be fine. And we'll grab all of these points that we've just created here. We'll straighten them off the scale option, and then we're going to bring those in just to match what's already there. That looks pretty good. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. We've got a nice straight edge there and around here. Cool, okay. So what we're going to do now with this element then, with our channel box here, we're going to hit Ctrl D, Ctrl G, just on this top one here, and we'll hit -1 on that X axis, and that's going to flip this over for us. And again, we'll grab both of these, and we'll hit Mesh and Combine. So this is going to be our first number one section that we've combined. And what we'll want to do with this now that we've combined it, is we are going to want to grab all these points, we'll edit Mesh and Merge, grab all of these points straight down the middle here, get that inside one selected there, deselect that one, can edit Mesh and Merge, just make sure we haven't done anything we don't want, that's fine. We'll grab all of these points here as well, and these ones here, there. I'm going to edit Mesh and Merge. So now we should have one section there which is nice, looking good, which it is. So again, this has probably moved our pivot, which it has, so we just want to do the exact same as we did before. We're going to hold D, which is going to allow us to affect the pivot's position, and we're going to hold X, which is going to allow us to snap it, and we're going to snap it here to the lowest point. To rotate that, snap it here to the lowest point, and we are going to hit edit again and just click duplicate special because it will have saved our information from the last time. And we can see now that we've got what looks more or less exactly like what we want. So that's looking pretty good. Obviously it's not smooth just now, so it's looking a bit dodgy, just like that, but for the most part it's looking pretty good. We can see here where the areas are going to need joining, which isn't a big deal just now at all. We can sort that out as well. So what we're going to want to do before we actually merge these together is put as much of the smoothing groups in place as we can. So what we'll do is we will use our mesh tools. That's not what I want to do. We will use our mesh tools and we'll insert an edge loop. And what we'll do is we'll drop a few about in this looped section at the top. So we'll go one in the edge, one just there, drop one here and here. So now that should have a nice section under smoothing. So if we hit 3 to smooth, remove the wireframe, we'll see that that's got a really nice sharp front section, really nice sharp interior section there as well. We're a bit spongy down here, but we'll get to that. So that's looking really, really good. What we'll do now, real quick, before we merge as well, is we will insert some more edge loops here, and we're gonna go inside our little lug hole here. We'll drop one there, one here. Again, this is looped, so this will be quite nice. We can drop one inside here, so we'll drag up to that edge and to this edge. That'll make those a bit more prominent. So let's just check that out. So we can see that that's got a nice little kind of double ring effect to that, which looks pretty good. And everything else now should loop around. So if we hit our mesh tools again, we're going to insert an edge loop, and we're going to insert an edge loop around this edge here all the way to the front, and we're going to do this quite close, and that should stop at our triangle here. And what we'll do is we will bring up this point, and we're going to drop that all the way into the corner there, and we'll do the same here on the other side. And because we duplicated special as instances, remember this is going to be adding all the way around here. And we're going to do the same. Well, let's just check that out first. Okay, so that's looking okay. We've got a nice defined edge on the outside, so I think we'll do the same on the inside as well. So if we get our mesh tools again, and we'll insert an edge loop along this edge, and we will do the exact same again. We'll pull it all the way up into this corner here just so it stops. Do the same here. And again, let's check that out before we do anything else, just to make sure it's looking good, which it is. We can see that's really nice now and sharp. So we'll zoom out, that's looking pretty good. Just there. Okay. So I think now the best thing to do is to merge these sections together. So we will grab all 5 of these sections, and I'm going to hit mesh and combine. Now it's just going to be a case of merging all of the vertices that is making this section up. So we're just going to select, hopefully these are close enough, and we can hit merge, which they are. And then we can just select all the other ones. We can hit G, which is going to use the last saved tool for us. We can hit G, we can hit G down there. I'll just go through real quick and join these up together. Okay, so now if we smooth that off, remove this, we can see that we've got a fair amount of this alloy wheel looking pretty good. We do need to add a little bit more rigidity to some sections, so we'll do that first. So what we're going to need to do is we are going to want to, let's just do a quick test and see where this edge is going to go. Okay, so that's going to go inside there, which we don't want. So we'll not bother with that, that should be fine anyway. Okay, so what we want to do around here is we're just going to now want to drag in some edge loops just to help solidify all of these sections. But first what we're going to do is we are going to grab all of these center faces here, and we're going to hit Ctrl E to extrude, and we're just going to give a little bit of curve to this. So we are going to pull this in on the scale and pull it out. We can hit Ctrl E again, make sure that we're on the world option just in case. I'm going to scale down in and pull out just so that's a little bit more rounded, it's not completely flat. That's looking pretty good. We'll want to now insert a few more edge loops just to make sure it's nice and tight. And we're going to add an edge loop on the inside here and on the top, just there. We are going to want to add an edge loop all the way around this edge here. I'm going to actually add 2. So we're going to go nice and close here, and then we're going to add a second one just there. Should be fine. We can check now, see how nice and smooth this is looking. So we can see that's looking much better now that we've got this middle section looking a little bit tighter. I think what we'll need to do is I'm going to need to add an edge loop. Now on the actual wheel this section is fairly smooth, but we're going to add another edge loop a little bit closer there just to help define that just a little bit. I think in hindsight it would have been nice if we could get an edge around here. Maybe we could. Can't really do it without affecting too much geometry. I think that should be okay. So again, we smooth that off. You can see that's got a little bit more definition, but it's still nice and smooth. So I think that's looking pretty good. It's looking very close to the actual wheel itself. I think maybe that we do want to be slightly more inset. So if we just isolate the selection here, what we're going to do is we will scale it up so we can see how this section's protruding more and more the more that we scale here. So we'll scale this a little bit, and what we can do is select all of the outside edge here all as one, and then we can just move that a bit closer back inside here, and we can grab the vertices on these sections here, pull these out. So that looks like it's got a little bit more of an inset, so that looks a whole lot better. And then for the rear wheel, we'll have even more of an inset. So we'll need to do the same thing again when it comes to the rear wheel. But for that, for now, for me, that's looking pretty good. Yeah, it's looking good to me. Cool. So let's bring our tire back in here. So what we'll do with this is let's just bring this in, and the way that this is going to sit is it's probably going to sit just in front of the actual tire, just there. So that looks pretty good. The last thing, no, I think that's looking pretty good. Yeah. So we can see that we've got quite harsh sections there. Should we need them, which is good. Okay, cool. So I think we'll leave this episode here. We've got the tire in place, which you guys will have downloaded from the description. We've got the main outer section of the wheel here created as well. What we're going to do in the next episode is we will add our actual lugs inside there, our actual nuts inside there. We will create the brake disc, and hopefully we'll have time to model a half decent brake caliper to sit behind, and obviously the outer section of the rim as well. Okay guys,